Okay, today we're making a die holder, and what I've got is a piece of bar aluminum. It's about 1 3/4 thick. This section from here to here, it's 3 inches. We're gonna go ahead and part that off here in a little bit. Right now I'm just trying to prep this a little bit, get it down to size. I'm gonna take it down to about 1 1/2 instead of 1 3/4. And I got a center drilled here, and we're going to drill it all the way through with probably a 1/4 inch bit at first. And I'm going to modify this special so it holds a die on one end, and it's going to have a Morse taper, and the centering rod's going to be a 3/8 rod, but it's going to have a spring in it, which I've never seen anyone do before. But that way, when it's being aligned, when you're using the die, you don't have to worry about always placing pressure with the end rests here. That sometimes makes it harder to do by always having to crank this. If you have a strong spring here, it's going to provide its own tension when you're trying to thread something. I'm going to see how well that works. But I'm going to set it up in such a way that if the spring's not working, it's okay. I'll just run the shaft through and do it the other way anyway. But I thought the spring would be a nice feature to add on here so that you can concentrate on the threads and not having to kind of hand adjust everything on this side. So we'll put this together and kind of see how this works. Okay, I've gone ahead, taken this down to 1 1/2. I use a stepper bit, which you can probably see in there to start the bore. I'm going to have to widen this out. In order to do so, I'm going to take the die, which is right here, and center it by using the dead center. So I'll do that and show you really quick. So here I'm using the dead center just to hold this. See, it spins freely on that. And it's just so that I can get my basic rough alignment hole on this done. So I'll use the Sharpie and do that. I'll worry about where all these marks are later, and I'll show how I'll do that later. That way I can cut it not quite to there, but I can get it close, and then I start measuring from there. Okay, so I got my boring bar set up, and I've got the carriage stop right here at a little tiny gap. I only wanted to go in that deep for now because I want to make sure that I flush up the die when I need to. So I want it to hang out just a little bit so I can get my centers correct on where all of the markings and the indents go on the die. So if we look at this, there's a little indent right here. There's the split right there. So we're looking primarily at those two marks right there. And I want to make sure those are keyed properly so these hold in with the little screws, set screws I'm going to put in there. So I don't want to go too deep yet until I can get those perfectly centered. Then I'll mill out the rest till they're centered, and it'll get a really good, nice fit. I'm going to keep doing this until I get just about to the edge of that red line mark there. Then I know where I'm very, very close, and then I'll start taking measurements. This not only cuts the hole, but it also ensures concentricity to make sure it's equal distance and perfectly round. Always good use to use a boring bar like that for this. Okay, this is temporarily done. Here is our die, and it goes in part way just like I wanted. This way I can line up the little dimple there and the cut that's in the die when I drill these holes and make sure they match. And then I'll machine it in just a little till this is flush with the outside edge when I'm done. Using the knurling tool on this, kind of loud and noisy. Then I'm going to put some decorative cuts.
Okay, here we go. It's been kind of cleaned up, and we've been working on it. So we're going to go ahead and part it off. The holes match up. They all line up nice with the two marks. We've got this sheened out. It's also got a little bit of a bigger hole on the inside so that when you're tapping something, it can pass through that point on it. And of course, that's where the rod's going to go later. Okay? Okay, so here I have two projects, and I'm actually making this one that holds the die so that I can cut the threads that are going to go on the brass fitting that's going to go on this machinist hammer that's already been tapped. So I'm not quite done with this, but I'm going to drill out this side, put a little chamfer on it right here, polish this a little bit, and then I can put the rod in it and temporary use. I'm not going to drill the side holes yet for the handles. I got to have my son help me with that because I don't have a drill press. He's going to take care of that at his place, but I'm going to take the die out right now and ream this out to the size that I want. And then we will work on the brass piece that you'll see in the other video. This just give you another little quick perspective on this. I don't know if you can see very well. The die goes up against this, and then there's a little bit of an opening down there before it goes down where the rod goes. That's to allow the end of whatever you're threading some room behind it as you're getting it started. So it's got room behind it. I'm actually going to make it so the rod doesn't go up and seat up against the back of this. It's going to be stopped just before then, and I'm going to put a spring in there to put tension on this thing. See how well that works. Okay, I got this kind of some pre-gut going on. I want this reamer to go in about that far, which measures right to the edge, pretty much of the flutes. Got a little oil on it right there. We're going to give this a shot. All right, just about there. Cool. Okay, I'm going to make a quick explanation on what I'm doing. This has been reamed out to about right here by my thumbnail. This is a 3/8 piece of drill rod, 6 inches long. Eventually it's going to be the handle. I'm going to drill it in about right where this band is, all the way through. This will go in there as a handle. Right now, I'm just using it as our centering device. It is spring-loaded. You can see that. There's a high tension spring I put in there. It's got a little shoulder in there. It's kind of hard to see, but the shoulder comes up to about right there. That allows it to stop on the shoulder instead of butting up against the tap, and that allows the spring to catch it, to always provide even tension on it instead of having to run it in with the stock on the back. So this is my own design, something a little bit different. We're going to give this a shot, see how it works. Right now, I'm going to make the face for this out of brass. And then we're going to use our brand new holder to thread that baby, and then we're going to put it on the hammer. And then I'll have this in a separate video, and this is in a separate video, but this shows you how they all come together to make the project work. Okay, here we are. I've turned this down to about 10.2, so it's going to be the right size to start to put threads on it. See, we've got the die in there. Now this is on a 3/8 shaft and the chuck. Now later I'm going to probably make one with a taper in it, so I can just put it right in here. But this is spring-loaded, see? Kind of something that I try in on my own, see how well it works. That way I can press up to it. I can apply force as needed by cranking here. But this is kind of my own design, so we'll see how this works out. Okay, we're lined up. You can see that it's nice and spring-loaded right now, and it's lining up okay. So we'll start doing a little bit of threading here, see if it works. I may have to turn this down just fractionally. We'll see if I can get it to start. Okay, it's working. It's getting them cut. You can see the spring works well because you can see the drift in and out, and it's keeping tension on it, which is doing a good job. So we'll pull it off when we're done. Cool design, I like it. Well, alright, well there's the hammer attached to it. We're going to take it off, and we're going to use the tool and probably cut it off about right in there after we kind of polish that up a little bit and make it look pretty. Cool, cool. And of course we got to use our trusty die holder that we made today in order to finish this project. Now I'm just waiting for the black plastic to machine and mill and put on that.
Quick update on the die holder. I had this hole drilled inside all the way through, and it holds the same 3/8 piece of stock right here. What I did is I did that so that it can be used as a handle when you're trying to do some cutting. So when the die is in there and you have another one of these, you can put this in and turn it as a handle. So I'm going to actually take another piece of stock and machine it down to 3/8, same size as this, but it's going to have a Morse taper, so it's going to start out as 3/4 inch rod, and we'll put a Morse taper on one end and then machine it down on part of it so that it will fit in this hole here, but it'll have a Morse taper on it. Right now this rod is 6 inches long. It was originally made for the handle like it is right now, but I had used it to do the couple of quick jobs on this machinist hammer by just running it in and putting it in a Jacob's chuck, which is perfectly fine too. So we'll do more of that here in a bit. Okay, here we go. We have this turned down to about 10 millimeter roughly. We're going to put the die on it. Of course, this is spring loaded. Helps keep tension on it even without putting too much. Then I don't have to put too much force back here with the crank. So we'll line this up and see what we got. Alright, as you can see, we're getting a little bit closer. I'm doing it by hand. The tension on the spring really works nice on this idea. I'm glad I designed it that way. So we'll get the threads cut, back it off, and see how it fits. Alright, we're backing this off now, and it looks like it did a good job. There we go. Clean up the little end here a little bit, but other than that, we'll get working on it. Cool. Okay, here's this piece of drill rod that I've got, 3/4 inch. I've got to turn it down to make the Morse taper. One of these right there. That right there. Okay. So, I've got it measured down to about 5 1/4, I believe. Let me take a look at that. It's actually 55 millimeters, so it's about 2 1/4. The overall length of this I cut at 5 inches. So the overall length is 5 inches. The Morse taper side is going to be 2 1/4, or about 55 millimeters right there. So I'm going to just mark this and then mark taper on it so I cut the right side. That way I know what I've got. The rest of this side here is going to be machined down to 3/8 right here. So I got to machine it all the way down to 3/8 on this side, do the taper on this side. Had to start with a 3/4 inch rod because my 1/2 inch rod wasn't big enough diameter, because this is bigger than 1/2 inch on this part of the Morse taper. So we're going to use this to get the angle in later, but first we're going to cut the 3/8 side first. So the 3/8 side, we'll cut that down first, then we'll go and do the taper side. Okay?
Alright, here I am drilling, here I am cutting this down to 3/8 right now. Pretty hard material because it's drill rod, so it's making these long shavings bright blue in heat. Well, we're working on it. We're getting it down. It's taking some time, though. Alright, we're getting closer. Maybe 2-3 more passes and I'll have it down to 3/8. Alright, this is probably going to be just about our final pass, then we'll do some finishing passes at the same depth just to try to polish it up a little bit before we're finished and fit it. There we go. 3/8 right there. That's what I need. Might have to take a little more. Little tiny bit still too big, not much, but we'll take it off a little bit more. Okay, it's just the right size. I'm going to go ahead, bevel the edge a little bit, do a little taper on it. Use the file for that. It's quick and easy. Then I'm going to use some sanding blocks to polish this up. It's got a coarse side and a fine side. These foam sanding blocks really work well. And you can follow this up with finer sandpaper to make a little bit better finish, or even polishing compound if you want to. Here's some 1000 grit fine sandpaper I'm using right here. Nice. There's the end. There we go. Fits good. Now I'll turn it around and do our taper. Okay, trying to get this Morse taper angle in is literally like splitting hairs. I've got it about 1 degree difference, and the needle is just hanging pretty much the same all the way along the span. You can see it hardly moves. I mean, it jingles a little bit, but it's in the same range pretty much all the way. Need to tighten up my lathe, obviously. It's got a little bit of slop in it, but the actual, you know, it's pretty much on as far as the angle that I need to cut. So we're going to go with it. Alright, here we are. We're going to start cutting this taper a little bit. Nice and slow. Pretty shallow. It only goes about 1.5 millimeters from this end to that end in distance travel as far as the cut. Alright, there we go. We got the taper in. Looks like it's the right measurements. We're going to polish it up here real quick and see if it fits. A little finer grit. Here's the end there. Now I even have even finer than this, so we'll polish it up and see what happens. Okay, here's the moment of truth. Goes in like that. This is out a little ways. Put it on 0. See that right there. And you just sort of tap it in. And it holds tight, just like we want. And when we pull it into here, it pops it out. Looks like we got a win on that one. Absolutely amazing. We also changed springs on this, and I'll go show that in just a second. A little bit tighter spring. I ordered a special heavy duty one. Cut it down short so it's got super high tension on it, and the super high tension spring might be even better, so I don't have to keep on running that forward on the crank. Okay, this is the completed project for the die holder, complete with a high tension spring, the pin with the taper on it, and also the handle. Super stiff spring goes in there. This goes in here. Of course, your die goes in there. And this is a handle right there. You take this out and you're going to do some work manually after it's started. The handle goes all the way through. That way you can put it on there, crank it, do whatever you need to do. Alright, thanks for watching. I will post right after this all the dimensions of everything that's here so that you can build it yourself. Remember to subscribe. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. Thanks. This is Desmond Butts. Okay, so here we are. This is the dimensions of this die holder. Okay, I'm going to take one part away and talk about it at each step. So here's the actual holder itself. You can see that. The die holder is 3 inches. That's from here to here. It's 75 millimeters long. It's 1.5 inches thick. I didn't get the millimeters on that. The center hole here on this part, okay, the center hole right here, that is 3/8 drilled to 2 inches deep. So it goes to about my thumbnail. It's 1/4 inch all the way through. Here you have the diameter of whatever die it is and a 10 millimeter hole reset so that whatever you're tapping can go back past the die. Okay. I didn't put the dimensions of these set screws because they are different depending on what you're doing. The handle hole through the side is also 3/8. The spring I bought on eBay, it's a high tension compression spring, super stiff. It was actually quite long. I cut it in half because it was just way too long. Really tight. That is 22 millimeters long and 3/8 thick, so it will fit in the back of the 3/8 hole like that. Okay, the taper pin part that has the Morse taper on it, 5 inches long. You'll have to look that up in millimeters. I milled this down, machined it down to 3/8 so it fits, as you can see. Okay, that section of it between my thumb and the end is 74 millimeters. The actual section that has the taper in it is 55 millimeters. Now I didn't put the dimensions of the taper just because everybody's system's a little different. I just had to use a dial indicator to get it, and I measured the one that I had. I think it ended up being 16 and 18, I can't remember. The handle is just a piece of 3/8 drill rod, and I cut it 6 inches long. Okay? So those are your dimensions. I hope you like it. It worked out really well because I used it to build my hammer project. And both of those, you probably, if you haven't seen one video or both, you need to look them up because they overlap a little bit. Thanks for watching once again, and remember, please subscribe.